Okay, so next we're gonna look at exercise 5 on your workbook, okay, which is on page 73. And it's gonna be about dynamic and stative verbs, okay? So if you're ready, we'll have a look at it together. So the question says, complete the sentences with the correct form of verbs, right? In brackets. So do you remember what dynamic and stative verbs are? Well, for those of you that still remember, you can skip this part and start doing the exercise, okay? For those of you who don't remember, I'll just go through it very quickly again. So stative verb and dynamic verbs are two different forms of verbs. There are some verbs that can be used in both present simple tense and present continuous tense. For example, if I say he wakes up at 8 o'clock every day, right? Or he is waking up now. You know, these are two different forms of verbs, right? You see the difference. He wakes up, when you say he wakes up at 8 o'clock every day, it's talking about routine, right? Okay, if he wakes up at 10 a.m., this is the present simple tense, right? But if I say he's waking up now, you see that it's happening right now, right? So this verb, wake, we can call it dynamic verb, right? Because it can be used in both present simple tense and present continuous tense. There are many verbs, right? Many other verbs that can be used this way. For example, he studies English and he's studying English now. She sings beautifully. She's singing beautifully, right? However, there are some verbs that cannot be used in this way. They can only be used with present simple tense. And those verbs are called stative verbs, right? If you remember. For example, agree. We will say, I agree with you. We will not say, I am agreeing with you, right? Or we could say, I think so. Or I think we should go. We would not say, I'm thinking we should go, right? I believe you, not I'm believing you. So these verbs are called stative verbs. They can only be used with present simple tense, right? So this one, dynamic. And the stative verbs, only present simple form, right? For example, we have agree, we have think, we have believe, seem, sound, appear, right? And some other verbs that we have learned earlier. So exercise 5, we'll have a look at the first one together and I'll let you do the rest, okay? The first one, I agree with everything you said to Marian, or I'm agreeing with everything. Good, I agree, right? Because agree is the stative verb. I agree with everything you said to Martin. Now can you try do the rest from 2 through 10? You can pause the video here and then we'll come back and have a look at it together. Alright, so I guess you have finished it by now. Let's have a look at the answers. The second one, I'm sorry you're not well. I hope. Yes, hope is also a steady verb. I hope you get better soon. The third one, are you watching? Yes, good job. Are you watching, right? This is a dynamic verb, watch. Okay, the fourth one, recognize. Recognize is also a steady verb, so the answer would be, do you recognize this boy in the photo? Do you recognize this boy in the photo, right? See, do you recognize this boy in the photo? Number 5 would be, I don't remember where I put my keys last night. Because remember is also a steady verb, right? Next, think of. This is different to think. Think of is like plan, you know. For example, are you planning to go to Italy again? When it's think of or think about, you can use the present continuous form with it. 7th, which courses are you taking this year? This is a dynamic verb, right? Number 8, 100 euros seems a lot to pay. Like I mentioned earlier, seem is a steady verb. Number 9, this soup doesn't taste right. When taste mean the characteristic of the food, right? Then it's a steady verb, which is different to the action of tasting. For example, you're tasting the food in that sense, then it can be a dynamic verb. But if we are talking about the characteristic, the taste of the food, then it has to be a steady verb, okay? And next, we've got good news. Jenna is expecting. Now, expect has 2 different meanings, right? The first one, as we know, for example, I expect him to be here by 10 o'clock. You expect somebody to be here. You anticipate somebody, right? But in this sense, when somebody is expecting a baby, she is conceiving, she's having a baby. So here, expecting can be the dynamic form, right? Here. Okay, now exercise 6, look at the example and write sentences, affirmative, positive sentences or negative sentences that are true for you. Use the correct form of the words, okay? So first you have to be able to find the verbs, and then you have to be able to identify whether they are the dynamic verbs or static verbs, okay? And then you can make sentences that are true for you. For example, the first one, believe in ghosts. The subject would be I, right? I. If you believe in ghosts, your sentence would be like, I believe in ghosts. If you don't, it would be, I don't believe in ghosts. But you will not say, I am believing in ghosts. Why? Because believe is a steady verb, right? So for the second one, wear sandals today. Which one is the verb? Wear. Good. Is it is it a stative or dynamic verb? Good. It's a dynamic verb, right? This one is a dynamic verb. So your sentence could either be, I am wearing sandals today, or I'm not wearing sandals today. Okay, now I'll give you some time to finish the rest, and there's no right or wrong answers. There's just answers that are true for you, okay? But you have to keep in mind that there are some verbs that are stative verbs and they cannot be used with present continuous tense, all right? So you can pause the video here and then we'll be back and we'll have a look at it together. Okay, so I suppose you have finished. So the third one, remember is the verb and it's a stative verb, right? So the answer would be, I remember my first English exam, or I don't remember my first English exam. The fourth one, think about. Now think about again is like think of, which could mean plan, right? So in this sense, think about can be used as a dynamic verb. So the answer would be, I'm thinking about going to the library, or I'm not thinking about going to the library. The fifth one, need a day off. A day off from maybe from work, from school, right? So need is a stative verb. Need, want, desire, right? These are all stative verbs. So the answer would be, I need a day off, or I don't need a day off. The sixth one, what would be the answer for this one? I feel great today, or I'm feeling great today. Yes, correct. See, I'll show you all the answers here, right? Here, I feel great today. Or you could say, I don't feel great today. Or even, I'm feeling great today. I'm not feeling great today. Okay. Here, feel would be an exception. You could either use the present simple or the present continuous for this one. Number 7, prefer. Prefer is in the same category as like, love, prefer, hate, detest, which means hate too. And here, prefer is a stative verb, right? So I prefer mornings to evening. I don't prefer mornings to evenings. Next one, I get up late at the weekend. We need a present simple for that one because there's the keyword at a weekend, right? Which marks that it's a routine. It's something that happens every weekend. Number 9, I know how to speak Chinese, right? Again, know is a stative verb. Number 10, I understand the difference between dynamic and stative verbs, or I don't understand. But I hope you do understand the difference between stative and dynamic verbs by now. Okay, if you don't, you can always go back to the video explaining about it again and again. Okay, now the 7th exercise is about vocabulary, and it's the vocabularies that are often used incorrectly, I would say, okay, or maybe some of you may find them a bit confusing, but it's okay. We'll go through them again together and make sure, I'll try to make sure that you understand their meanings, okay? So, vocabulary. The first one, behavior. Behavior is like it's a noun for the verb behave, right? Behavior ก็คือพฤติกรรมใช่ไหมคะ It's a noun, okay? Next, curious. When you're curious about something, you want to know the answer to it, right? Curious ก็คือสงสัยเนาะ Every day means daily, right? Or ในชีวิตประจำวัน every day. In the case, in the event that, in the case of, in the case ก็คือในกรณีที่ในกรณีของนะคะมักจะใช้คู่กับคำว่า of. Next we have opinion. you can have an idea about something, a view about something, an opinion about something, right? Opinion ก็คือความคิดเห็นนะคะ last one predictions when you make predictions about something you make guesses right การที่เรา make predictions ก็คือเราคาดการณ์เราทำนายเนาะ okay so now they would like you to try and use these verbs correctly or these words. There are no verbs here, sorry. These words correctly in an appropriate context, okay? So we'll have a look at the first one together. Okay, the first one. Greg, what's your of this suggestion? What's your opinion, right? What's your opinion of this suggestion? What do you think about it? So the first one would be opinion. Right, this one has been used. Okay, so now we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have some of them left here. Maybe you could work on your own. You could pause the video here and then we'll come back and check the answers together. Okay, so now that you have finished, let's have a look at second sentence. The teacher was pleased, that means the teacher was happy, right, with the behavior of the class on the school trip. So the second one would be behavior. Right, behavior. The third one, I don't like making predictions. We use make predictions, right? They are collocations or they are words that go together. I don't like making predictions about my exam results. Number 4, I don't usually eat fish, so I was curious, right? I was curious. Number 5, all the exams last 1 hour, but in the case of English, good. In the case of English, the exam is 90 minutes. And the last one, we don't normally meet celebrities in everyday life, good. So make sure you review these words as many times as you can so that you remember the meanings, yes, and also make sure you use them in everyday life, okay, so they become natural for you. Now, the last exercise for this 1A workbook is going to be the word focus love. If you remember in the students book section, right, we had the word focus, which is love, and it's about how we use love, the word love, in different contexts and in different expressions to mean different things, right? So we have 2 parts of the exchanges. You have to match them together, okay? So this is quite easy and I'll let you guys do it on your own and then pause the video and come back and have a look. Okay, so now that you have finished, the first sentence here says, Brian is coming to stay at a weekend. So what happens? So what does the other person say? Oh, please give him our love, right? Please give Brian our love. Please tell him that we miss him, maybe we love him. Please send him our regards. Number 2, I'm so surprised Joe and Danny have split up. They have broken up, right? So the other people would reply saying, I know, Danny said Joe was the love of his life. To be the love of somebody's life means to be very loved by that person, right? Number 3, is your brother living in Paris now? Yes, for a few months. He loves it. He loves Paris. When you love something, you like it a lot, right? Number 4, my sister is studying to be a vet. Vet. An animal doctor, right? Okay, so my sister is studying to be a vet. Oh, I'd love to work with animals. The answer for this one would be E, right? Would love to implies something you want to do in the future. I would love to work with animals. I would love to travel the world. Number 5, what a lot of people you have invited. I know, but it's okay. I love cooking for my friends. Now, when you love doing something, you enjoy doing it a lot, right? Love doing. Number 6, what happened in the last episode of Our Street? Jack thinks he's falling in love with Annie. Okay, so this would be the best answer for this statement. Falling in love. I'm sure all of you know the meaning of this expression, right? Would you like a cup of tea? Do you want a cup of tea? Would you like a cup of tea? It's the same thing. So the answer would be, yes please, I'd love one. You would like something, right? Means you want it. Number 8, would you like to go for a coffee? Do you want to go for a coffee? The answer would be, I'd love to. Yes, I would love to. I would love to go for a coffee. So these are the different ways we can use love in expressions, and you can use them in your daily life as well, okay? Alright, so in this video clip, we're going to look at the workbook exercises on page 74, okay, 74 and 75. And it's going to be workbook exercise unit 1B, okay, so turn over to page 74. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read, and it's going to be about synesthesia. I'm not sure if you have heard about it. Okay, synesthesia. We'll read and we'll answer some questions here, okay? So first, let's have a look at the questions. We'll go through the questions first, okay, before doing the reading exercise, so we know specifically what details are we looking for, okay? We know where to focus, we know what to look for, okay, and maybe it could make our reading easier and more focused. So the first question, is synesthesia an illness? Alright, so maybe by reading the first question, you can form a little idea about synesthesia. It might be an illness, or it might not be an illness, but now you know that it's a condition, right, that happens maybe to your body. It could be. So you have to find out whether it's an illness or not. Next, what happens when people have synesthesia? Okay, so what are their symptoms? What happens to their bodies? Third, does it affect Mark's life at all? Okay, so who's Mark? If we just quickly move to this side here of the page, and you see, my name is Mark. I'm Canadian and I have synesthesia, okay? So the first sentence itself already tells us something about the passage, okay? So the author is Mark and he has synesthesia, and we are assuming that synesthesia could be a condition that happens to our physical body, right? or something like that. So does it affect Mark's life at all? What does it here refer to? What could affect Mark's life? Good, synesthesia, right? Does synesthesia affect Mark's life at all? Or could it be that he is not affected at all? He is still perfectly fine, right? Number 4, how is Mark's synesthesia different from Kandinsky's? Okay, so we understand that Mark has synesthesia. And there could be a person named Kandinsky. We'll quickly scan, okay, and find if we see anybody's name Kandinsky here. And who is Kandinsky? If we move here, artists like David Hockney and Kandinsky. Okay, so Kandinsky is an artist, right? And he has synesthesia too. But how is Mark's symptoms and this person's symptoms different? Number 5, what's the most frequent example of synesthesia? Okay, so we'll have to read and find that out. Number 6, which part of the body is involved in synesthesia? Is it your brain? Is it your heart? Is it your lung, leg? Which part is involved in synesthesia? Okay, so we'll read and then we'll find out the answers. So right now, please pause the video here. Give yourself as much time as you need for this passage. Okay, and then whenever you're ready, feel free to come back and check if you have got the answers right. Okay, so you must have finished reading, and I'm sure that for those of you who have never known or who have never come across the word synesthesia before, this piece of text might be quite interesting, right? Because maybe we've never known. We have never thought there would be something like this. Okay, so before answering the questions, we'll go through the text together, okay? So the author is Mark and he has synesthesia. When you have a disease or when you have an illness, that means you are down with it, right? For example, you could say, I have a fever, I have a cold, I have synesthesia, right? You use have with illness. Okay, it's not a disease. Okay, so it's not a disease. So here, you could answer the first question. So is synesthesia an illness? No, right? It's not. Okay, and it doesn't really have any effects on my day-to-day life. It doesn't have serious effects, but it could be that it might have some mild or maybe light effects on his life, right? But it's a strange condition, okay? So synesthesia is very strange. How strange? Okay, so here he's trying to explain what synesthesia is, what are its symptoms. So synesthesia happens when 2 or more of your senses get mixed up. Okay, so the senses in our body, we have hearing, we have smelling, touching, right? Tasting, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, and what? Seeing, right? So 2 of the senses, they are mixed up. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so in my case, so in his case, I taste words. Okay, interesting. Normally, we see words, right? We don't taste words. We taste food. But in his case, he tastes words. Okay, so my sense of taste works even when I'm not eating anything, but when I hear or read certain words. Wow. So for me, the word box, taste of eggs. So when he comes across the word box, instead of just seeing it for what it is, for its literal form, for just as a word, box, right? He tastes it. He feels the taste of an egg associated with box. Okay, that's just one example. I'm reading one of Sherlock Holmes' stories at the moment, and Sherlock is another egg. Okay, so even the word Sherlock makes him taste an egg. Well, so it's a bit too much sometimes. So Mark is saying that he doesn't feel that it seriously affects him, but sometimes it's a little bit too much, right? Okay, so we'll have a look at questions 2 and 3. So what happens when people have synesthesia? So this is the answer, right? So when people have synesthesia, the 2 or more senses get mixed up, right? So this would be answer for question 2, right? Synesthesia happens when 2 or more senses get mixed up. Okay, does it affect Mark's life at all? So does it affect? It does, right? It does. Well, you could say not very much, but maybe to a certain degree, right? See, yes, or you could say it's a bit too much sometimes. Okay, so number 4, how is Mark's synesthesia different from Kandinsky? We know that the answer should probably be in the second paragraph, right? So we'll go through the second paragraph now. So Mark is not the only one to have synesthesia, right? There are quite a few. There are some other people who have it too, and there are famous people too. So there are artists like David Hockney. You see the colon here. They're not just there for nothing, you know. Their function is to tell us that whatever information that comes after the colon, it modifies the information mentioned earlier. For example, here it says that there are quite a few famous people with synesthesia. And those few people, those famous people are artists like David Hockney, Kandinsky, and musicians like Stevie Wonder and Liszt, right? So it has its own function in the text. Okay. So we'll see what Kandinsky's synesthesia is like. I read that Kandinsky's synesthesia mixed color, hearing, touch, and smell. So for Kandinsky, everything is mixed up, right? And Mark wouldn't want to be Kandinsky's place at all because he thinks it's overwhelming, right? It's a little too much and it's very complicated. Okay, so the answer would be for number 4. Mark's synesthesia means that he tastes words, right? So we know that Mark tastes words. And Kandinsky's synesthesia mixed color, hearing, touching, and smell. Okay, so you need to answer Mark's symptoms, and you also need to mention Kandinsky's symptoms. Okay, so what's the most frequent example of synesthesia? Okay, so here my sister's synesthesia is synesthetic too, and she sees words in color. So Mark's sister has the same symptom, the same condition too, but in different forms, right? Mark tests words, but his sister sees words in color. For example, she sees the word Tuesdays, or whenever she just thinks of Tuesday, she gets the feeling of brown. Okay, does that happen to you? When you see words, do you think of color? Actually, that's kind of synesthesia where the days of the weeks are colored, and it's the most common type. So instead of using the word frequent, they use common, right? These two words are synonymous, common and frequent. So the answer for this one, what's the most frequent example of synesthesia would be see words in color, right? Number 6, which part of the brain is involved in synesthesia? Okay, so keep on reading and we'll find the answer. I read somewhere that synesthesia is connected to the way our brains develop language. So the part of the body that's involved in synesthesia is our brain, right? Okay, so that was the first exercise, right? You read about synesthesia, you learn what it is, you see some examples, right? Now, what does exercise 2 ask you to do? So you underline the words in the text connected to the sentences. Okay, so there are some words in here that refer to senses. Decide if they are noun or verbs, then use some of the words to complete the sentences. Okay, so we'll find some of them together and then we'll decide whether they are noun or verbs, okay? And I'll let you find the rest on your own and also do these on your own, okay? So, do you see a word that talks about senses? Here, I would say. My sense of taste. Right? Is this a word, a verb or a noun? Taste. A noun, right? Works even when I'm not eating anything, but when I hear, hearing is also your sense, right? It's also a part of senses. So is hear a verb or a noun? Yes, it's a verb, right? Okay, so find other words related to senses and then decide whether they are verbs or noun and then complete the exercise above. Okay, so we have hear, right? And we have taste here. And we also have, let me see, what else do we have? Sound, we have sound. Oh, here. We have hearing, touch, smell. Right? We have hearing, touch, and smell here. So these are words that pertain to senses, right? Okay. So the first one, I don't like is it the hearing of banana, the touch of banana, the smell of banana, or the taste of banana? Good. I don't like the taste of banana. And this is a noun, right? Number 2, when my cat, a bird singing, it gets very excited. The cat should be, yes, should hear, right? When my cat hears a verb. Number 3, most people's worse as they get older. What gets worse as you get older? Your sight, right, gets worse. And your hearing, yes, hearing. And this is a noun. Hearing is a noun. Number 4, our sense of is more sensitive in our fingertips. This is our fingertips, right? What sense pertains to fingertip? Touch, yes, our sense of touch. It's a noun. Number 5, animal noses have highly developed sense of smell, right, compared with humans. So these are some words related to senses, okay? Okay, students, so for the next exercise, we have grammar, and it focuses on forming correct questions, right? So, many times we do not form correct questions. Maybe we miss some little details, right? And in this exercise, we're gonna focus more and we're going to practice more on forming correct questions. So the first one, let's have a look at the question first. Write the missing word in each question. See, there's some missing words, right? For example, the first one, where Mark come from? This doesn't sound quite right? Where Mark come from. What should be the correct form of this question? Where? Yes, where does, good. Where does Mark come from? Yes, where does Mark come from, right? Okay, now, can you look at questions 2 through 6 and decide what is missing? Try on your own, okay? And then after you're finished, come back and check the answers. Okay, so for question 2, else in his family has the same condition. The question word is missing here, right? It should be who else in his family has the same condition. So who is missing? Who else in his family has the same condition? Number 3. What the name of his condition? Is this correct? No, obviously not. And what is missing? Is, yes. What is the name of his condition? This should be correct, the correct way to ask. Number 4. Sense gives Mark problems. Which sense, right? Which sense? Is it hearing? Is it seeing? Is it touching? Is it smelling, right? So it's which sense gives Mark problems. Number 5, what's Stevie Wonder famous for? Well, something's missing, and the correct answer, the correct way to ask would be, what is Stevie Wonder famous for, right? What is he famous for? So this is how your question should look. What is? famous for? What is Stevie Wonder famous for? Number 6, what color Mark's sister associate with Tuesday? What color does Mark's sister, here, after color, what color does Mark's sister associate with Tuesday? Okay, so now we're going to move to exercise 4, and this one is to help you with your pronunciation. Okay, when you form questions, when you ask questions, you know, the intonation is also very important, so people know that it's a question and it's not just an affirmative sentence. For example, you could not ask, what is your name, right? The tone has to go up and down. What is your name, right? What's your name, for example? How are you, right? So the intonation is very important. So you're gonna listen and repeat the questions from exercise 3. Okay, so the questions are here. Pay attention to the intonation at the end of the question. Intonation, where the tone goes up, right? So listen and maybe try to repeat after the speaker, okay? And exercise B here, read the questions with correct intonation, then listen and check. Okay, so we'll do this one first and then we'll move on to this one, all right? Okay.
3. What's the name of his condition? 4. Which sense gives Mark problems? 5. What's Stevie Wonder famous for? 6. What colour does Mark's sister associate with Tuesday?
Okay, and so I guess I suppose you have noticed the intonation in the questions, right? Now we'll move on to exercise B for this one. And what you're going to do is you're going to read the questions with a correct intonation, then listen and check. So you're going to read it first on your own, right? And then you're going to listen and check whether you got it right. Okay, so practice on your own first. Pause the video and then I'll play the audio clip so you can check whether you got them right. Okay, now let's hear the correct way to ask these questions, okay?
Track 3, Unit 1B. 1.
Who's your favourite writer?
2.
What kind of job do you do?
3.
Where do you usually go on holiday?
4.
What do you like to do at the weekend?
5.
How many languages do you speak?
6.
How much TV do you watch?
Alright, so those were the correct ways to ask the questions, okay? So be sure when you ask questions, you ask with the correct intonations. Okay, now exercise 5, you're gonna listen and write the questions, then complete the answers for yourself and find out if you have synesthesia. Okay, so listen and write the questions, okay?
Track 4, Unit 1B. 1.
Do you taste the words you hear?
2.
Have words got colour for you?
3.
Can you read without tasting words?
4.
Which senses do you mix up?
Okay, so those were the questions. Now you have to answer, okay, for your own. So do you taste the words you hear? If you do, yes. If you don't, no. Have words got color for you? Do you associate words with color, like Mark's sisters? Number 3, can you read without tasting words? And number 4, which senses do you mix up, all right? Okay, now we are done with the listening exercises and we'll move to exercise 6, which is about using indirect questions. There are direct questions and there are also indirect questions. For example, the direct questions would be, what is the time? What is the time, right? And this might sound, well, as you know, it sounds direct and it also sounds informal, right? However, if I say, could you tell me what the time is? Or can you tell me what the time is? How does this one sound? Indirect, well, obviously, and also more formal, right? So now we have 8 direct questions and you have to change them into indirect questions. And you have already learned how to form indirect questions earlier, right? So do you remember how to form them? Let's see. We'll do the first one together, okay? What time is it? What time is it? The indirect one would be, can you tell me, right? Okay. Can you tell me what time it is? Make sure you switch places, okay? No more. Can you tell me what time is it? That's wrong. The correct one would be, can you tell me what time it is? Okay, now, how about you do the rest on your own? Okay, pause the video, do the rest on your own, and then we'll go through the answers together. Okay, now that you have finished, we'll have a look at all of these together. Okay, the second one, what's your postcode? What's your postcode? What would be the answer for this one? What would be the answer for this one? Yes, can you tell me your postcode, right? Could you tell me your postcode? And the third one would be, are the banks open today? Can you tell me if, or can you tell me whether the banks are open today? If it's a yes/no question, we normally use if or whether in the sentence, in the indirect sentence, right? Where does the bus to the city center leave from? So do you know where the bus to the city center lives from? We don't need does anymore, right? If you remember. So do you know where the bus to the city center leaves from? Now, fifth one, how does this machine work? Could you tell me how this machine works, right? Again, we don't need does anymore. Number 6, how long will you be here? Do you know how long you'll be here? See? We need to switch places, right? In indirect questions. So it's going to be, do you know how long you'll be here? Number 7, is there a reduced price for students? Again, this is a yes/no question. So you need whether and you need or if, right, to help you. Could you tell me whether there's a reduced price for students? And why can't I get on the plane? Can you tell me why I can't get on the plane? Okay. So, for those of you who have really understood indirect questions, okay, you can pause the video here, right? Or you can skip this part and then we'll do the 7th exercise together. For those of you who haven't, how about try forming this one into an indirect questions. Okay, so if the question say, does this bus stop at a market? This is a direct question, right? Let's try form indirect question for this one. So it could be, could you tell me if, yes, could you tell me if this bus, okay, how about we write it here, right? So what is this? Okay. Could since it's a yes/no question, right? Does this bus stop at a market? You need if or whether. So could you tell me if or whether this bus, do we need do does? No, right? We don't need it anymore. This bus stops at a market, right? Could you tell me whether, or could you tell me if this bus stops at a market? Okay, so now we'll move to exercise 7 and it's vocabulary related to feelings. Okay, so we have the pair. One is a noun and one is an adjective, right? Anger, angry. And we have lucky, we have luck. Brave, bravery. Powerful, power. Happy, happiness. Sad, sadness. Okay. So you need to decide whether you would use an adjective or a noun of each pair, right? To fill in these sentences. First, we'll look whether each one is a noun or an adjective. Angry. What is angry? Angry is an adjective, yes. I'm sorry. Angry is an adjective and anger is a noun, yes. Lucky and luck. What is lucky? Adjective, good. And luck is a noun. Brave and bravery. Brave is an adjective. He's brave, right? So brave is an adjective and bravery is a noun. Powerful and power. She's a powerful woman. Powerful is an adjective, yes. Whereas power is a noun. Happy and happiness. I'm happy. Happy is an adjective, right? Everybody wants happiness. Happiness is a noun. Good. The last pair, sad and sadness. What is sad? Adjective. And sadness is a noun, right? So, could you try and fill and complete these sentences on your own? And then we'll come back and have a look at the answers, okay? All right, now that you have finished, we'll have a look at the answers together. The first one, good in your new job. This is a very common expression, right? I'm sure you all, or most of you have heard it. We say, good luck, right? Good luck in your new job. So it's always good luck. We won't say good lucky, right? Number two, I'm always on Sunday morning when I know I can get up late. Whoa, when I can get up late, I'm always happy. Yes, I'm always happy. Good. Number three, I have no to do anything. I'm not the boss. What does the boss have? Power, right? And when I'm not the boss, I have no power. Number four, I feel when I read about some people's difficult lives. Okay, when you read that some people is having difficult lives, you feel sad. Yes, you feel sad. Number five, I think people who work with dangerous animals are very brave. Good. They're very brave. Number six, I try not to get angry when things go wrong. Okay. I try not to get angry. So you could see that we use the word feel, get, or verb to be, right? Like is, MR, was, were, right? With the adjectives, right? I'm always happy, or you could say I'm always sad, or he gets sad, right? Or he feels sad. So we could use some of these words with adjective, right? Okay, so that's it for workbook on this unit 1B, okay? Okay, so in this video clip, we're going to work on workbook exercise 1C, okay? And it's going to be on page 76 of your book. So could you please turn over to page 76, and then we'll do exercises on here, and basically it's a listening exercise. So the first exercise is how much do you know about video games? So this exercise uses or test your previous or maybe your general knowledge about the games. It's okay if you don't know them, okay? Some of you might not be that interested in games. Some of you might not be into video games. So it's okay if you don't know. But there are some games mentioned here. The first one is Super Mario. The second one is The Sims. And we have Minecraft and we have Dragon Quest. If you are interested in games, I'm sure you must have heard all of these names, right? So match the name of the games to the type of the games. Okay, we have building adventure game, we have life simulation game. Simulation means something you copy or you duplicate. And we have fantasy role play game, and the last one is sports and puzzle game. Okay, so try and make your guesses. Okay, so we'll have a look at the answers. So the Super Mario is actually a sports and puzzle game. And we have The Sims. The Sims is a very popular life simulation game. And we have Minecraft, which is building and adventure game. And the last one is Dragon Quest, which is a fantasy role-play game, okay? So this is just to warm you up a little bit before getting into the real activity, which is exercise 2. You're gonna listen to an extract from a radio program about video games, okay? And you're gonna choose the correct option, A to C. Alright, so before we get to listen, how about we look at the questions first? Again, just like reading, it's good to always look at the questions for the listening exercise first, so that you know what information you need to be focusing on while you're hearing, right? Or while you're listening to the extract. And also one more thing, just by looking at the questions, most of the time you get a brief idea about what is about to come. You get to know what the topic is going to entail, what it's going to include. Okay? You get a brief, a general idea about the topic even before you start to listen. Okay? So when you look at the questions, don't only just look at the questions, but try to form ideas into your head. Try to link the information you have here. Okay? First question, millions of people regularly play computer games. Okay, so here, it's gonna taste on the locations, okay? So is it millions of people around the world, in America, or in the UK? Second question, one of the main features or one of the main characteristics of many video games is that the player chooses a new identity, a new life, or a new team. Number 3, sometimes the character can be it could be a powerful animal, leader, or superhero. Number 4, players like to choose identities that are different from their own personality, similar to their own personalities, or the same as. Number 5, the university's team results suggest that our ideas about video games are correct, are dangerous, or wrong. Okay, so we can guess, or at least we have a brief idea that we're going to listen about video games, and we're not just going to listen about a particular game, but we're going to get more details about what kind of identities people choose when they play video games, right? And sometimes the characters, who could be the characters in the video games and all those stuff. So if you're ready, I'll play the recording and you can start answering, okay?
Track 5, Unit 1C. Millions of people around the world regularly play computer games, such as The Sims or Dragon Quest. What do people enjoy so much about these games? A team at the University of Essex decided to try and find out. If you've never played one of these games, then let me explain. One of the main features of many video games is that when you play, you choose a new identity. The game identity can be one which is a real-world character, such as in the Sims game, or it can be a powerful superhero character. Now, you might think that turning into a different character is a way of escaping or running away from your everyday life. But the university team discovered that this isn't really what is going on. It seems that players often choose a character that is a little bit similar to their own personalities. They enjoy the game more when this is the case, compared to times when their game identity is very different to themselves. So, video games mean that people can think about the kind of person they want to be in a perfect world, and then they can play the role of that kind of person. The results of the university team's studies are interesting because we often read negative things about video games, that they are dangerous or addictive. It turns out that, in fact, they increase people's happiness and positive feelings about themselves.
Alright, so that was about a study or a research by the University of Essex, right? A team conducted a study to find out about video games, about people playing video games and the results or the effects that they might get from playing video games. And the text started by saying that millions of people regularly play computer games. So it's millions of people around the world, right? Millions of people around the world play video games. And also, one of the main features of video games is that player chooses a new identity. We become somebody else, right? We have a new identity. We have a new name in the video game, and sometimes the character can be a human being or a powerful superhero. Number 4, players like to choose identities that are similar to their own personalities. Many times we tend to think that when playing video games, people like to be somebody else. They like to have characters or identities that are totally different from their own, right? But in fact, people prefer being or prefer having the characteristics or the identities that are similar to themselves, right? Number 5, the university team's results suggest that our ideas about video games are wrong. If you listened carefully, the speaker said that many a times we often think that playing video games are dangerous, right? But actually it's wrong because it makes people happy. So our idea about video games can be wrong. Okay, next we have another exercise, and you'll be listening again to the very same audio clip. Okay, and now you have to answer the questions. It's no more multiple choices, right? You have to answer and you have to write it down. So be very careful when listening. Let's have a look at the questions first. So what did the team at the University of Essex want to do? You now know that they try to find out about people playing video games, but what specifically they wanted to do, okay? Number 2, if you play The Sims, what kind of identity you have? And number 3, what feelings do video games increase in players? Okay, so what did they want to do? What kind of identity when you play The Sims? And what feelings do video games increase in a person? Alright, so let's start.
Track 5, Unit 1C. Millions of people around the world regularly play computer games, such as The Sims or Dragon Quest. What do people enjoy so much about these games? A team at the University of Essex decided to try and find out. If you've never played one of these games, then let me explain. One of the main features of many video games is that when you play, you choose a new identity. The game identity can be one which is a real-world character, such as in the Sims game, or it can be a powerful superhero character. Now, you might think that turning into a different character is a way of escaping or running away from your everyday life. But the university team discovered that this isn't really what is going on. It seems that players often choose a character that is a little bit similar to their own personalities. They enjoy the game more when this is the case, compared to times when their game identity is very different to themselves. So video games mean that people can think about the kind of person they want to be in a perfect world, and then they can play the role of that kind of person. The results of the university team's studies are interesting because we often read negative things about video games, that they are dangerous or addictive. It turns out that, in fact, they increase people's happiness and positive feelings about themselves.
Okay, so we'll have a look at the answers now. So the number one, what did the team at the University of Essex want to do? So they actually wanted to find out what makes people like playing video games, right? Okay, so they try to find out what people like so much about video games. And number two, so if you play The Sims, the kind of identity you'll have is something like a real world character, okay, because it's a life simulation game. Number three, what feelings do video games increase? Well, in contrast to our belief that video games could make people violent or aggressive, however, they could actually also make people feel happy, right? And they could even increase positive feelings about oneself, right? Okay, so these are the facts that the team at the University of Essex found out. Okay, now vocabulary related to what we have just listened. So we'll look at the audio script on page, let me check. It should be on page 104, right? 104. And find how these phrasal verbs are used and replace the underlined verbs in the sentences with correct phrasal verbs. Okay, so could you please turn over to page 104, 104, and you'll see an audio script, right? The script of the audio that we just listened. It would begin by saying millions of people. And in this session, in this section of the exercise, we're gonna focus on the usage or the uses of phrasal verbs. Now, for those of you who are already familiar with phrasal verbs, you can just turn over to page 104 and start reading. But for those of you who might not be that familiar with phrasal verb, let me give you a brief information about phrasal verbs. So what are phrasal verbs? If you notice here, we have find out, we have turn into, we have go on, we have turn out. Can you find this mutual similarities in all these words? We have verbs, right? We have find, we have turn, we have go, we have turn. All of these are verbs. And what do we have? We also have preposition out, into, on, out again. So basically, phrasal verbs are formed when we add a preposition to a verb, right? To form a new word. Some other words would be, for example, turn on. You must have heard turn on, obviously, right? Turn on, get on, run into, come across, look for, right? These are all phrasal verbs. So we have a verb and we have a preposition, right? And we have a new word, right? So we'll turn on to page 104 and we'll read the audio script and we'll find some phrasal verbs there, okay? Now pause the video here and read to find the phrasal verbs. Okay, so I guess you have read the audio script, right? And you have found these phrasal verbs in there, I'm sure. And so find how these phrasal verbs are used, these phrasal verbs. So the first one we have in paragraph 1, right? It says, a team at the University of Essex decided to try and find out. You use find out when you want to find out the answer. You want to find out an answer to a question, something like that, find out, right? So let's find out. And we'll move to paragraph 3 and we have 2 phrasal verbs there, right? Now you might think that turning into a different character is a way of escaping or running away from your everyday life. Turn into, when you turn into something, you become something, right? For example, I could say in the game, I turn into a monster. So it would mean that in the game, I become a monster, right? Next, we have in line 4, but the university team discovered that this isn't really what's going on. This isn't really what is happening, what's going on, what's happening, right? And the last phrasal verb is in the last paragraph. If you see on third line, it turns out that, in fact, they increase people's happiness. Turn out. When something turns out to be something, it becomes something that we hadn't expected before, okay? So we could say, we thought that he was a bad guy, but it turns out he's a really good guy, right? But on the contrary, but in fact, turns out, okay? So these are 4 phrasal verbs used here. Now we're going to come back to this exercise. You have to replace these simple verbs here by using the phrasal verbs listed here, okay? So we're going to do the first one together. Your kitten is becoming a big fat cat. What can we use instead of becoming? Your kitten is turning into, right? Your kitten is turning into a big fat cat. He used to be a small cat, now he's turning into a big fat cat. Okay, now you can do the rest on your own, all right? Okay, now that you have done it, let's have a look at the answers. The second one, what a mess, what's happening here? So instead of using happening, there's another way we can use it, and we can use what? What a mess, what's going on here? What's going on here, right? What's going on here? Number 3, the police hope to discover where the thieves have gone. So the police don't know where the thieves have gone. They hope to find out. Yes, they hope to find out where they've gone. Okay, so this would be number 3. Number 4, the last one. I told the doctor about a problem with my hand. It turns out it's nothing serious, and the result is it's nothing serious, right? It turns out. Okay, now exercise 5. It's pronunciation exercise. When of links two nouns that often go together, it isn't stressed. Look at these words from the radio program. Do you think the word of is stressed? Listen and check. For example, would we say millions of people, or we would say millions of people? You know? Or would we say a University of Essex, or we would say University of Essex? Do we stress it or do we not stress it? Okay? Let's listen.
Track 6, Unit 1C. 1. Millions of people. 2. University of Essex. 3. One of these games. 4. A way of escaping. 5. Kind of person.
Okay, so you've heard that, right? We don't stress it too much. Like we would say...
Track 6, Unit 1C.
We'll listen
1.
again.
Millions of people.
Millions of people, right? And the second one.
2. University of Essex.
University of Essex. We want to say University of Essex.
3. One of these games.
One of these games. One of these games.
4. A way of escaping.
A way of escaping. A way of escaping, right? You almost barely hear the word off, but it's actually there.
5. Kind of person.
Kind of person, kind of person. Why is it important to do this pronunciation exercise, you know? Because you get to hear how the words or how the phrases are actually pronounced. And if you practice along with the audio clip, you might sound more natural, right? And it's always good to practice along with your audio clip, right? So that you sound more natural and you could express yourself in English in an improved or better way, okay? Hi, in this video clip, we're going to work on exercise 1D from our workbook, and it's going to be on page 77, okay, page 77. And this one follows the 1D exercise from the student book, which is about real life conversations. And here, sorry. In our unit 1D from the student book, we learned some phrases used in conversation, right? The formal phrases that could be useful for meeting other people, especially in business context, right? And you might find these useful even maybe for some of you right now, for some of you in the future, right? Okay, so the first exercise, what you need to do is you need to put the words in order so that they form the correct sentence. And you have to write O for ways of opening conversation and C for ways of closing conversation. I hope you remember we learned about expressions or phrases that are used to open conversation and are used to close conversations, right? But first you need to rearrange them because they are all jumbled up here. So the first one we have, AU pleasure to its meet. Can you quickly guess what it's going to be? Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you, right? It's a pleasure to meet you. And is this an opening or is it a closing conversation? It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, it's an opening, right? So could you please do the rest now and come back and have a look at the answers, okay? Okay, so you must have finished doing it now. Let's have a look at the answers, okay? The second one would be, why don't I give you my card? Why don't I give you my card? And this is a closing conversation. When you're about to leave the conversation, you might want to give the other person, the other party, your business card or your name card, right? Why don't I give you my card? And you hand it to them. Number 3, may I introduce myself and then followed by your name, right? This is an opening. Let's stay in touch when you're about to leave the conversation and you still want to contact the other people, you still want them to contact you. You could use this phrase, let's stay in touch, right? Number 5, it's been good talking to you. It's been good talking to you. It's been nice talking to you. And it's used to close conversation. The last one, I'm very pleased to meet you. This is an opening, a very good opening, right? You could say, I'm very pleased to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you, right? Okay, next we have, a conversation here. It's between W and G. And you need to use 4 of the expressions from this exercise in here, okay? How about we do the first one together? Good morning, I'm Wilmar. What would Will say here? Good morning. Well, obviously not let's stay in touch, right? Because it's just an opening here. So we would say, good morning. May I introduce myself, right? Good morning, may I introduce myself? Or it could be, yeah, that would be it. Good morning, may I introduce myself? I'm Will Marr. And so Cheesy replies saying, how do you do? My name is Grace Larson. Okay, so what does Will and Grace converse here? What kind of exchanges do they use here? You have to use the ones given here, right, to finish the rest. Okay, pause the video here and do it on your own. Alright, now that you have finished, we'll have a look at the answers. So, may I introduce myself? How do you do, right? You use this phrase, how do you do, when you first meet somebody. You say, how do you do? And they normally reply back saying, how do you do? Okay, it's a pleasure to meet you. Are you a colleague of Daniel's? Colleague means somebody who works together with you, right? I am. We're both working on this project. Okay, well, it's been good talking to you. I'm very interested in your ideas. Why don't I give you my card? You can reach me on both those numbers. To reach somebody here means to contact somebody, right? You can reach me. You can contact me on both those numbers. Okay, thanks. All right, now. Complete these ways of talking about what you do with prepositions. Prepositions are the words like of, in, at, right? you know, and so on, right? These are some prepositions. Now, when we talk about our work, we normally use some prepositions along with the phrases. So we'll look at what kind of prepositions are needed here. For example, the first one, I work at a design company. What would you say here? Okay, we also have 4. I'll give you a clue here. So we would say, I work for a design company. You work for a company. It depends on what kind of company it is, right? You could say, I work for a design company. I work for a marketing company. I work for the scientific lab, you know. Okay, we have 2 through 6 here. I mostly work special projects. I'm an administrator, Browns Bank. Now, when you're talking about a certain place, what kind of preposition do you use here? I am customer services. Here, you're talking about your position, you know. So when you're talking about your position, what kind of preposition would you use? I'm looking a new job. I'm a student. Again, it's a name of a place, a name of a college, right? What would you use here? Okay, could you try on your own? Yes, and then we'll look at the answers. All right, now that you have finished, okay, so I work for a design company, right? And we work on special projects. You could say, right now I'm working on this project. I would like to work on that project. Okay, work on. Now, I'm administrator at Browns Bank. When you are talking about the name of a certain place, you use at, right? I am here. When you're talking about the position you're working, you would use in. I'm in customer services. I'm in marketing. I'm in research team, for example. Number 5, I'm looking for a new job. When you're looking for something, you're finding. Look for. This is a phrasal verb too. Look for. Number 6, I'm a student at City College. This is the name, right? So just like this one, we're gonna use at. So at for the name, in for the position, work on projects, and you look for something, okay? So these are the prepositions you're gonna use here. Okay, number 4 is gonna be about short questions here. Can you? Do you? Have you? Is she? Oh, are you? Oh, is it? Right? Match the comments with the questions A to F to make short exchanges. For example, number 1, I'm a colleague of Daniel's. If I say I'm a colleague at Daniel's, the other person might say, oh, are you? Right? She's trying to repeat. Actually, it's not that she's repeating after our question, but she's making sure that it's a fact. Oh, really? For example, something like that, right? So I'm a colleague of Daniel's. Oh, are you? Right? Number 2, she's one of our best customers. What would this be? Yes, is she? Oh, is she your best customers? Okay, now can you do the rest, 3 to 6? Pause the video here. Okay, now we'll have a look at the answers. Okay, number 3, I work in our main office. And the other person would say, do you? Right? With surprise. Number 4, we've got a branch in your area. Have you? Right here. Have you? Have you got a branch? Because we have here, right? Have you got a branch in our area? Number 5, it's one of our biggest shops. Oh, is it? Right? And the last one, I could call you tomorrow. Can you? Okay, now I'll give you one sample sentence, right? And can you think of the short question to respond back? Okay, so I would say, I have been teaching for 5 years. I've been teaching for 5 years. Okay, if you responded by saying, have you? Then you're correct, right? I've been teaching for 5 years. Oh, have you? Okay, one more sentence. He is being promoted. He is being promoted. And your response would be, is he? Is he? Right? If that was your answer, then I guess you must have understood using short questions as answer. Okay. Now we're going to listen to the exchanges. Take the questions where the speaker sounds interested. Okay, where he sounds interested.
Track 7, Unit 1D. 1.
I'm a colleague of Daniel's.
Oh, are you? 2.
She is one of our best customers.
Is she? 3.
I work in our main office.
Do you? 4.
We've got a branch in your area.
Have you? 5.
It's one of our biggest shops.
Oh, is it? 6.
I can call you tomorrow.
Can you?
Okay, so if you have listened to this, you might have found out that some of these questions didn't show any interest at all, right? The speaker of these short questions responded in a manner, in a tone that did not show any interest. For example, the one which says, it's one of our biggest shops. And the guy said, oh, is it? No interest, right? And on the contrary, when one of them said, I can call you tomorrow, and the guy responded saying, can you? Can you? He seems all interested in it, right? So the intonation is very important here. If you don't intend to show a lot of interest, right, the intonation is going to be different. For example, oh, is it? You know, kind of sound bored. While if you're very interested, it changes into, can you? Can you? See, you see the difference. You notice the difference, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to do exercise 5, grammar. right? Grammar extra here. Auxiliary verbs in short questions. So we use auxiliary verbs here to make short questions and short answers. The auxiliary verbs are verb to be, verb to have, verb to do, and modal verbs, right? Here, verb to be, we have is, am, are, right? For example, are you? Are you? Yes, I am, right? We have verb to have. Has it? No, it hasn't. Modal verb like can she? No, she can't. Or present simple tense, do, does, like do you? Yes, I do. Or present continuous like are they? Yes, they are. So we use auxiliary verbs to form short questions or short answers, right? For example, we're going to write short questions to respond to these two sentences, okay, and short answers to respond to the questions. So the first one, I'm learning Greek at the moment. What would be the short question? I'm learning Greek at the moment. Here, the subject is I, right? So you need to respond by saying you. And here it's going to be, are you? Are you learning Greek at the moment, right? Number 2, this paint is selling very well. Okay, first you need to find a pronoun to replace paint. So what would it be? He, she, it, I, you, we, they. To replace this word paint, it, okay. And we have auxiliary verb to be here. So in front here we need a verb to be too. So it's going to be, is it? Is it selling very well, right? Number 3 to 6, can you do it on your own? Try, okay? It's okay if you don't get everything right. It's perfectly fine. But first try, okay? Pause the video. And once you're finished, come back and have a look at the answers. All right, so number 3. Here. Have you got my telephone number? Yes, I have. No, I haven't, right? Do you think you can win? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Number 5, can you see what's happening? No, I can't. Yes, I can, right? It depends. Number 6, my colleagues are excited about this. Are they? Are they? Okay, now the last exercise here. Listen and respond, meeting people for the first time. So you're going to listen to comments from conversations where people meet for the first time. Respond with your own words. Then compare your response with a model answer that follows, okay?
Track 9, Unit 1D. 1.
Hello, how are you? My name's Grace Larson.
Okay, so hello, how are you? My name is Grace Larson. What would your response be? It depends, right? For example, I could say, hello Grace, nice to meet you. I'm Shanya, for example.
I'm very pleased to meet you. I'm Alberto Costa.
2. I work in marketing. What about you?
Okay, so I work in marketing. What about you? So my own response would be, I am a teacher. I'm a teacher. And what would your response be?
I'm in IT, actually.
3.
I'm the manager of Pink Cosmetics.
I'm the manager of Pink Cosmetics. Okay, if it were me, I would say, oh, are you? And what would you say?
Oh yes, I know that company very well.
4. I'm looking for a new job at the moment, actually.
The guy saying he's looking for a new job, I would say, again, I might say, oh, are you? What kind of job are you interested in?
Are you? What kind of thing are you looking for?
5.
How about meeting again?
How about meeting again? If it were me, I would say, I would love to. I would love to.
Yes. Let me give you my card.
Yeah, or you could say, let me give you my card, right? These are some responses that you could use when you meet people. So when people say, hello, how are you? You could say, I'm very pleased to meet you. And then start by introducing yourself, right? Or when the other person is telling you about his or her job or profession. I work in marketing. What about you? What about you? You could be the person using this phrase, right? What about you? How about you? I'm the manager of Pink Cosmetics. Oh, yes, I know that company very well. See, you're trying to find things that connect you two together, right? I'm looking for a new job at the moment. She's trying to find a new job. He's trying to find a new job at the moment. Are you? What kind of thing you're looking for, right? How about meeting again? Yes, let me give you my card. See, so this is very useful. Maybe some of you could be using these phrases now. Some of you might find them useful in the future. Okay. So that's it for Unit 1C. Okay. Hi students, so in this video clip we're going to work on our workbook exercise 1E, okay, which is supposed to be on page 78 and 79. So page 78 and 79. So 1E is about writing a business profile. I'm not sure if you remember, but in 1E part of our student book, we read or we read an information, right? We read an information about go away. Let me remind you what we did in 1E. So this is what happened in 1E, right, of our student book. It's about a business profile. You read this information and you had to identify whether it was, what kind of text it was, what style it used, who was the reader, what was the purpose of the text, what structure the text used, right? So was it like a sequenced text or was it separate sections? So our 1E from workbook is going to follow the 1E from student book, okay? So it's going to be writing a business profile, and you have to be able to use or at least identify what text type it is, what style it uses, who is the reader, what is the purpose, what is the structure, okay? So you'll be reading these extracts here. There are 4 extracts here, and you have to answer the questions. First question asks what type of text this is. Is it a letter or is it a website? So what does it say? It says, I'm pleased to inform you that we are offering a new range of services. Would this be in a letter or would this be on a website? In a letter, yes. This would probably be in a letter, right? How do you know? Because it uses a very formal style of writing, right? I'm pleased to inform you that we are offering a new range of services. So this would be a letter. Now next, check out our new range. We think it's really cool. So is it a formal or informal style? The third one, you have to identify whether the reader of this text is a known reader or an unknown reader, okay? So the text says, please note the following changes to your account. So does the writer know the reader, or he doesn't know, okay? Number 4, purpose. Is it to give information or is it to advertise a product? It says, our clients are national and international companies. Okay, so let's finish this quickly on your own and then let's have a look at the answers. Okay, so now that you're done, let's see what we got here. So the second one, this is very easy. The style is clearly informal, right? It uses the exclamation mark. It uses the word like cool. Number 3, reader. What's wrong here? Okay, so for number 3, the reader is known for sure. Otherwise, we will not be able to tell the reader that there are changes to his or her account, right? Number 4, purpose. It's to give information. It doesn't advertise any products here, right? It's just giving information. Okay, so next, exercise B, read the information from a business profile here. Match the sentences A to D with the headings 1 to 3. There are 2 sentences with 1 headings. Okay, so here is the heading. It's about our work, satisfied customers, or about us here. Okay. So we always get fantastic results when we used intersect. Is this about our work, or is it satisfied customers, or is it about us? Yes, it looks like a review from the customers, right? So this would be satisfied customers, satisfied customers. B, as well as this, we're looking with a mobile phone operator on a new campaign. We work in all areas of advertising. Okay, so in what section should this information be under? Good. It should be under the About Our Work section, right? Because it tells us, or it tells the readers about what the company does, right? C, at the moment, we're developing a new logo for a national radio station. Okay, what does this tell us about? Yes, again, it tells us about our work, right? And the last one, we are design agency with 20 years of experience. This is about us. It's giving the profile of the company, right? So the company is a design agency. It doesn't give the details about what the company is currently doing, but briefly about it, right? So this would be in an about us section. Now, exercise 2, you're going to rewrite the sentences using the words in the brackets in the correct position. There's sometimes more than one possibility. Okay, so let's have a look at this one together. So the first one, I'm working on a new product, and this year, where would this go? This year, I'm working on a new product, right? Or you could say, I'm working on a new product this year. And the second one, I can help you with new projects. Also, where would you add also? I also can help you with new projects. I also can help you with new projects, right? So you have number 3 to number 6 to finish on your own. You could pause the video here, okay? And when you are finished, come back and check the answers. Okay, so number 3, we are advising a national company currently. So it would be, currently we are advising a national company, or we are currently advising a national company, right? Either could be fine. Number 4, we are completing a major contract at this time. At this time would be at the end of the sentence here. Number 5, we have offices in all main cities. In addition to this is always at the beginning of the sentence, okay? In addition to this, it has the same meaning as moreover, right? We have offices in all main cities. Number 6, we work in TV too. Okay. Number 3, checking accuracy. Find and correct 10 spelling mistakes in this profile. Okay, so it's the profile down here, right? There's a profile here, and there's some spelling mistakes. When you're writing a business profile, it's very important that you pay attention to your spelling's accuracy, right? Otherwise, it would make your business look unprofessional, right? So for example, the first one, I'm a freelance designer. Is this how you spell designer? No, right? This is wrong. This is not the way to spell designer. So the first one would be here, designer. Now there are 9 other words that are wrong. Can you find them and write the correct ones instead? Okay, so now that you have finished, let's have a look at the answers. So we have maybe we have designer, consultant, not consultant, right? My special areas of interest, not my especial. And include working with natural textiles and dyes, you know, the dyes cloth, the ones that are very popular in these days. You know, they dye the clothes and they have mixed colors in them. And developing, there's only one P, not double P. A range of baby clothes which are not allergic, double L for allergic, right? Outside work, I have a passion, double S, passion, for abstract art, especially the colorful works, only one L, not two. This is wrong, right? Of Kandinsky, I'm continually, double L, continually, trying to improve my own skills as a painter, T-E-R, not T-O-R, right? Painter. Okay, now next page, next exercise is word building, and we're gonna build new word using adjective and noun. You remember we talked about collocations, right? Earlier in the student's book. So we use adjectives to modify a noun, and so adjectives have been given here. You see my first national, native. What's an adjective here? Popular. I keep in touch with old friends on social. This is an adjective, right? My grandparents still like to eat traditional. Which one is an adjective? Traditional. Okay, so you need to find the noun that goes with each adjective, okay, to complete or to make an appropriate sentence. Okay, so when you are finished, come back and check the answers. Okay, so now that you have finished, let's have a look at the answers together. The first one, my first of zoo in the interview was really positive. My first impression, yes, we learned this word earlier. My first impression of zoo was very positive. The second one, the people in any country are usually connected by a feeling of national identity. Yes, national identity. They go together, right? These words. Number three, lots of places in the United States have Native American names. Native American names. Number four, the magazine focuses on popular popular would it be media or would it be culture? Let me check. Yes, popular culture, right? Popular culture, TV, films, music, and so on. Okay, so this one would be social media, yes. I don't know, I just got confused, I'm so sorry. And six would be my grandparents still like to eat traditional food, yes. Okay, so we have collocations, adjective and noun, as in first impression, we have national identity, we have Native American, we have popular culture, we have social media, and we have traditional food, right? So these are some of them. Now, exercise 2, complete the adjective noun collocations in the sentences with words from the box. There's one extra adjective. Okay. So I'll let you do this on your own, okay? And once you're finished, we'll go through the answers together, all right? Okay, so let's have a look at the answers. So we have, we want to celebrate a special occasion, right? We could use special to talk about occasion. Next, we eat vegetarian food. And the third one, if you work in an office, you probably wear smart clothes, formal clothes, right? Number 4, the company aims to sell their product to a worldwide market, everywhere in the world. worldwide market. Number 5, the magazines you read are just about the lives of famous people. And the last one, I need to ask Ryan some really important questions. Okay? So the adjectives and the nouns that go together. Okay, now we're almost finished with the workbook exercise. Learning skills, study routine. Okay, so draw a table showing your waking hours for each day of the week. Write your activities, then choose 2 colors and block off times when you're free to study and when you can study at the same time as you do something else. Example, read on the train. Alright, so that's the end of exercise for workbook exercises for Unit 1E. Okay, we'll finish it here. And this is about learning skills, your study routines. Okay, so if you have time, you can work on this on your own. Alright, so we'll meet again in the next video clip.